Ghosts. Not the first book about them, definitely not the last, but this time, they're at the beach. Book number 22, Ghost Beach. First is the original 1994 cover. The hooded ghost on the cover is badass, and you almost wouldn't be able to tell this took place on the beach, but don't worry, there's a little bit of it over on the right. Our tagline is no swimming, no surfing, no haunting. Those rules don't apply to the ghost, though. The back tagline is, do you believe in ghosts? Next is the 2000s reprint. Really nothing new going on as usual. The slime is a bit brighter though. Nice! Here's when I would usually show the UK cover, but this is actually one of the only ones I don't have. I'll still show a photo though, to keep the tradition going. This one has a hand rising from the grave, not a ghost. Lastly is the classic reprint with a much more intimidating, though somehow less interesting ghost. The lack of eyes was a key part in making it actually scary. As an early reprint, we get some bonus features, tutorials on grave rubbing, the ties between dogs and the paranormal, and making your own family tree. This book also got a graphic novel adaptation, so you know the drill. Some nice photos to adorn the summary. Let's get to it. The characters this time are Jerry and his sister Terry. In the beginning, Jerry's trying to find Terry in this foggy graveyard because she loves graveyards. He stumbles into a gravestone that reads, in memory of John, son of Daniel and Sarah Knapp, who died March 25th, 1766, aged 12 years and 22 days. How strange, Jerry thinks. That's the same age I am. And I turned 12 in February, which is almost 22 days away from March 25th. What a coincidence. The fog is heavy, and Jerry has trouble finding his sister. When he finally gets to her, something grabs his ankle, a hand reaching up from the grave. Run! Jerry starts dodging like a pro, but Terry gets caught. He kicks at the hands that grab her, but they won't let go, and then two hands grab him this time. Jerry blinks and he tells Terry that he was just remembering a bad dream from a few months ago. Why? Because they just discovered a cemetery near the beach that they're at. Jerry and Terry were invited to come stay the last bit of their summer with their distant cousins Brad and Agatha Sadler. Jerry says that they're so old, they were old when his dad was a kid, which makes no logical sense, but I'm sure there's a reason for that. They're still pretty energetic for their age, and a cottage by the beach sounded way cooler than their house in New Jersey. Yuck! They arrived and were told to go exploring, so here we are. Terry wants to go back to the graveyard. Again, she loves them, all scary things really. She especially loves grave rubbing, which is where you tape a piece of paper to a grave and use a crayon to rub the design onto it. I'm not sure if that'll be relevant, but they included a tutorial in the bonus features, so surely it must be. They look at a gravestone. John Sadler died March 18, 1642, at 38 years old. Jerry thinks. Sadler, just like us. Maybe he's our ancestor. Terry wants to keep looking, but Jerry's scared, so they take a break from the graveyard for today. Walking along the beach, Terry looks up to see a mound of rocks on a ledge, and the entrance to a dark cave. It seems extremely dangerous, but Terry's not taking no for an answer. Jerry manages to at least keep them both at the entrance until they ask their cousins if it's safe. Terry plays around, yelling into the cave, and a strange whistling sound comes back. Maybe it's time to leave. But then they hear a fluttering sound. An enormous bat emerges, ready to attack. As you might expect, the bat doesn't actually attack, it just flies over them. Then it starts to spin and crashes into a rock. It seems that Jerry's hobby is zoology, so he wants to get a closer look at the thing. But in fact, it isn't a bat, but a kite, just painted to look like a bat. A boy calls out from behind, and he's clearly carrying the ball of string. He steps closer, and he has the same freckles and shade of hair that Jerry has. Interesting. He tells two other kids to show up, another girl their age and a 5-year-old boy. The boy with the kite is Sam, the girl is Louisa, and the kid is Nat. They're all Sadlers too. How interesting. Jerry and Terry ask if the other Sadlers ever explore the cave, but no, they don't. Why? Well, do you believe in ghosts? No way, Terry says, but Jerry wonders, what if all known science could be wrong? Maybe ghosts are real. Terry wants to grill them on what these so-called cave ghosts are supposed to be, but Sam makes a lame excuse and says they all have to go. They decide to go back to the cottage and ask the old folks about it. Finding Brad and Agatha in the garden, they ask about the cave, but they ignore all their questions and tell them to help get ready for dinner. Brad teaches the kids how to play whist, a card game I've never heard of, and it was popular in the 17 and 1800s. This guy must be pretty old. Interesting. The next morning, the kids are looking for Indian pipe, as Terry loves collecting flowers. Funny enough, Indian pipe is also called the ghost plant. How impossibly convenient. Eventually, Jerry manages to find a strange white thing poking out of the ground covered in leaves. Not the flower, but some other kind of root. He keeps pulling and a whole clump of dirt comes apart. A skeleton! After some closer examination, it seems this skeleton belongs to a dog. It's also in perfect shape. Maybe it died of old age and the kids don't have to worry about any scary animals coming to hunt them. Or do they? A howling rings out, but then it stops, and the kids notice Sam and the others laughing behind a tree. Both kids blush, but now Jerry knows just what'll startle them. He leads them to the dog skeleton, and they all get pretty shook up. The little kid, Nat, starts crying, saying a ghost killed it because dogs always know if somebody's a ghost. It seems in the universe of Goosebumps, most ghosts just blend in with people until you find them out. And why can't they be figured out? No idea. Terry tries to shut down this supernatural mumbo-jumbo, but Sam gets serious. The ghost killed a bunch of things around here. And right now, it's right behind you! Jerry screams and grabs onto Terry for dear life, but in the next second, he realizes he just got tricked again. They agree on a truce, and Terry tells Sam to tell them more about this supposed ghost, if he was even serious or not. He starts to shut them lips pretty quick, and when Louisa starts to speak, Sam urges them all to leave again. So yeah, the ghost must be a sensitive topic. Jay and T head back to the cottage where Agatha is getting some peach pie ready for dessert. They tell the old folks about the skeleton and they exchange worried glances while saying they have no clue what could have killed it. When they mention the kids, as well as the fact that they said there was a ghost, Agatha is quick to say that Sam loves to make that shit up. Later that night, as usual for a Goosebumps kid, Jerry can't fall asleep. He hears thumping and does the classic, pull the sheets over your head so the monster can't get you technique. His curiosity gets the best of him though, and he sees a pale figure moving towards him. He pulls the sheet back over his head, but then he takes another look. Gotcha! It's just Terry being a dick. She came to talk to him, but she saw him with the sheet over his head and was too tempted to scare him not to. She's having trouble sleeping too, because while she totally doesn't believe in ghosts, the other kids do, so she's thinking about why. Funny enough, Jerry isn't really interested, but the scientific-minded Terry is dead set on figuring this shit out. She'll ask them tomorrow. The next day, the kids head down to the beach. They play around catching some starfish, and guess who shows up? The other kids. They play around a bit, and then Terry gets to the meat of things. Louise and Sam keep their mouths shut, but she starts asking leading questions towards Nat, who's just a little too young to not nod his head when she asks, "Does the ghost live in the cave?" So the metaphorical dam has flooded. The supposed ghost lives in the cave, is really old, and only comes out during the full moon. And they know he's in the cave because sometimes a light flickers in there. But not a flashlight, it's different. Alright. Jerry says this is all just some stupid joke and the other kids leave. Terry punches him for making them leave before she can get more info, but there's no way a ghost is in that cave. After dinner, Agatha mentions one of the beach towels has gone missing, so with the possibility of one they used having been left behind, Jerry uses this as an excuse to get some fresh air. He walks his way back to their spot from earlier and doesn't find the towel. He glances up towards the cave and sees what else but a flickering light. Should he go up there? Yes. After some struggling, Jerry manages to make it up to the cliff, but then he hears a noise, and a cold hand grabs his neck. He turns around to see Terry, who shushes him. She laughs at him for looking for a ghost. When he looks back at the cave, the light is gone. Later in bed, Jerry tries to use some critical thinking skills to solve what just happened. He saw a light, and then the light went out. So that means an optical illusion? He starts hearing a dog barking outside, which is weird because he's never seen a dog around here before. And also, dogs bark at ghosts. He looks out the window, but the barking stops. Weird. Next morning, the kids are birdwatching. Terry's surprised that she didn't hear the dog barking last night like Jerry did. They find the other three along the beach about to go fishing. Sam is noticeably more friendly now, offering to teach them both how to fish. Jerry brings up the fact that he saw the flickering light, and everyone gets scared again. He's got to find out what the hell is in that cave. At dinner, Jerry tries to ask Brad about the cave. He reiterates that it isn't safe, and that the light he saw must have been an optical illusion.
Aurora Borealis?
That's it. After all that, Jay and T are walking on the beach together, Jerry knowing these old bitches must be lying. That's not how the Northern Lights work. Something's in that cave. They look up and notice the light again. Someone must be in there. Time to go in. This chapter is really short. Some tension-filled, slow walking through the damp cave until, the ceiling's crumbling down. Everybody starts screaming. What they thought was a collapse was actually just them waking an entire chamber's worth of bats. They both turn around and see the light at the end of the tunnel. They move towards it while ducking under the bats and find a bunch of candles. But who put them there? Probably the man standing right in front of them. An old man with long white hair who's really thin. He rises from his chair and comes right for them. Jerry can't get himself to move, but Terry bumps him from behind, and that kicks him into gear. The man smiles at them, and they both run out as fast as they can, but Jerry stumbles over a rock, and the ghost reaches out for his throat. Jerry barely manages to dodge out of the way, and the kids sprint all the way back to the cottage. Agatha asks them if they found it, the beach towel, and the kids laugh. Jerry can't sleep again that night thinking about the ghost in the cave, and the fact that him and Terry decided not to tell the old folks about said ghost. He hears a tapping on his window. "Come here." The figure grins at him through the window. It's Nat. He's propped up on Sam's shoulders, and Louise is there too, by the way. Jerry lets them climb into his room, and then he tells them about their experience with the ghost. Finally, Sam says they didn't want them to know about the ghost because it would be scary. They even think the ghost is out to kill all of them, even J&T. The skeletons are proof of what he can do to you. They have a plan to get rid of the ghost, but need J&T's help. Meet them at the beach tomorrow morning. The morning begins with waiting, as it rains pretty hard outside, so they need to wait till it stops to talk to Sam and the others. After lunch, the sun appears, so they make it to the beach. After an hour of waiting, though, the others still haven't shown up. To pass the time, they head to the cemetery, as Terry is always carrying that grave-rubbing kit. Jerry makes his way to the center and reads more tombstones, all with the last name Sadler. It starts to creep him out. Does anyone else die here? Terry chimes in and points out 3 children's graves. The names? Sam, Louisa, and Nat. All the same kids they've been hanging out with, all dead in the 1600s. They run back to the cottage to ask Brad and Agatha about it. They asked Agatha why every dead person is a Sadler, and why these 3 kids are also there. Great questions, and time for an exposition dump. In the winter of 1641, pilgrims from England, all with the last name Sadler, settled here. Unfortunately, they were unprepared for how terrible that winter would be, and they were nearly wiped out by 1642. The kids, and Brad and Agatha, all have tombstones there, because they were named after their ancestors. What a relief, but Jerry still keeps quiet on the cave ghost for now. They find Sam and the gang on the beach the next morning. They weren't allowed outside because of the rain. Convenient. And they corroborate the same story that they were named after their ancestors. But anyway, the get rid of the ghost forever plan. Sam leads them to the cave and points out some very heavy rocks on the top of it. If they push them over, it'll block the entrance, and the ghost will be trapped forever. How? Well, it seems the cave is made of ancient rocks of legend, which a ghost can't phase through. They haven't pushed the rocks over themselves because they're scared, and the guy could probably find their house if he wants to, so they've needed some outsiders to help. There's too much risk, Jerry thinks, but Terry butts in with an affirmative, "Of course we'll help you." The rest of the day goes by uneventfully, though they do pluck fresh blueberries and churn ice cream with Agatha. Cute, but not exactly relevant. At night, they meet up with the other kids and stealthily make their way towards the cave. J and T slowly make their way up and around the mouth, and the rocks don't seem too hard to push. They look down to see Sam jumping up and down, waving his arms. A signal, but what does it mean? Jerry tries to peek over towards the cave entrance and sees the other kids run away. Uh-oh. The ghost is actually right behind them. He grabs both kids and says, "Come with me." He drags the kids all the way to the cave and leads them to the candlelit chamber before telling them to sit on the floor. They plead for their lives, telling him they won't tell anyone that he's a ghost. He smiles. "I'm not a ghost. Your 3 friends are." The plot thickens. He says those other kids are over 350 years old, and his name is Harrison Sadler. After college, he traced his ancestors here, and he studies the occult, so this was an awfully convenient place to end up. He dragged the kids in here to warn them about the ghosts and how evil they are. Jerry can't believe this. Why is he in this cave? It seems the sanctuary legend is true, and the rocks up there were set by him to trap the ghosts himself one day. The cave keeps him safe because they can't surprise him from behind. Think, why did the other kids make them push the rocks over? The kids aren't buying that though, and still believe he's a ghost the others were just scared of. That does not make Harrison happy. So, he's going to let them go. He tells them to look at the east corner of the graveyard, and when they see that, they'll come back. They run away, Jerry creating more horrific visions of Harrison in his mind, and thinking there's no way his friends could be ghosts. Terry already knows he must be talking about the graves of the other kids' ancestors, but why not check it out again? Weird. Near the other graves there's some fresh dirt. Not just fresh dirt, but fresh graves. 2 of them. What do they say? Jerry Sadler and Terry Sadler. What the hell? They gotta tell Agatha and Brad, like they've been any help before, but when they turn around, the other kids are there. Curiously, Nat keeps asking them if they killed the ghost, not trapped them. Okay. They left because they were so scared, but funny enough, Sam and the gang actually want to try again. There's no way he'd think they would come back again tonight. Again, Jerry thinks it's too risky, but Terry agrees. Terry leads the way and it starts to rain. Jerry keeps trying to tell her how dangerous this is, but she's not listening. She needs to solve this damn mystery. The others want to stay down on the ground again, but Terry tells them to join her because they won't help down there. She tells them to stand near the entrance to the cave and they eventually, yet reluctantly, agree. Terry tells everyone to step inside the cave to warm up a bit. It's pouring now. The others don't want to, so Terry has to shove them inside. Torchlight appears in the distance. Here we all are. Harrison stands blocking their escape. This starts a big argument where both sides accuse each other of being ghosts and lying. Terry's actually smiling. She led the others to the cave for this exact reason. We are solving this mystery. After plenty of more arguing, Jerry doesn't know who to trust, but Harrison lets out a whistle. Footsteps approach from the darkness. A ghost monster! No, in fact, it's a German Shepherd. Then Jerry realizes, dogs can recognize ghosts. The dog leaps towards Sam and starts barking at the kids, forcing them to start backing up. They begin to confess about how hard that first winter was and how none of them got to live. This would be tremendously sad, but when the light shines on the kids, they start to change. Hair falls off, skin peels, leaving skulls behind. Sam hisses like a zombie or something. Join us. We dug such nice graves for you, so close to ours. Comically evil sounding now, they move forward, scaring everyone, even Harrison, and the torchlight goes out. A hand grabs Jerry's shoulder, and luckily it's just Terry. They run as fast as they can, a thunderbolt shaking the ground. But it's not actually a thunderbolt. The rocks were loosened by the storm, and they completely enclosed the cave. Nobody else is left besides J&T. It's over. The kids run back to the cottage and their old cousins help them dry off. They have them tell their whole story from the beginning, and while they show some disappointment at them going into the cave, they're just glad they're okay. Suddenly they hear a dog barking. Terry opens the door to see Harrison's dog, who must have escaped from the cave. The dog keeps barking at them, but that can't be right. They're not ghosts. Jerry turns around to see Brad and Agatha backing away in fear. This can't be. Agatha yells at the dog for giving away their secret and slams the door shut. Now what do they do with these kids? Well, these kids are dead. A pretty good book. The only thing about it I would change is how validated Harrison was. He was adamant that the ghosts were evil, and the backstory of the kids being killed in a harsh winter is pretty sad. So to see them just melt into evil ghost skeletons and going, "Rah, join us in the grave," it kind of undermined the tragedy for me. Other than that, it gets quite interesting once the skeleton is found, which is only chapter 5, much earlier to get going than some previous books like Go Eat Worms. Perhaps the old people were who Harrison should have been targeting the whole time, but it seems that he had no idea. The book does have an episode though, so let's see if that can stay faithful. The episode starts right from the graveyard, no preemptive nightmare sequence here. We even get some grave rubbing as they read Harrison Sadler's tombstone, which is strange because his name was never mentioned until they met him in the book, and I don't recall him even having a tombstone. They start running away from this creature that appears from the ground, but it's just Louisa. This is one of the few times physical appearance is actually relevant, so let me mention that in the book, it was made clear that Sam has the same freckles and shade of hair as Jerry, but I suppose 350 years of genetic change can switch things up. It also seems that Nat isn't allowed to be in the episode. I don't know why. It's not like Louisa's acting makes up for the loss at all.
Thought we'd give you a little scare. Little scare?
It's even worse because the role as leader of the group is given to her instead, as she's the one who tells Sam to quit talking, so yeah. You get to hear more lines like this.
Come on, we need to go. We'll see you around.
Dinner proceeds as usual. They ask about the kids in the cave, they play coy, yada yada. The next day, Jerry trips over the dog skeleton, which is on the beach now instead of the woods. The show keeps making this noise and the music gets weirdly intense. It creates this mismatch between the poor, emotionless acting and what should be a reveal of, well, a skeleton. Louisa does a cool spin move to reveal the cave, and it impresses Jerry so much that he does one too, and he sees the flickering lights. Dinner scene again, and I am so glad they kept Brad's ridiculous Aurora Borealis excuse in the episode.
Something electric gets in the air and the whole sky lights up in streamers.
Instead of Terry scaring Jerry at night, the opposite happens. In fact, these two have switched roles as well. Maybe they thought our main character should be more active than reactive, so he's the one urging Terry to start looking into things. Time for the cave, which is unbelievably well lit, so much so even the flashlights are unnecessary. They wake up the bats like before and find the singular torch-lit room where Harrison corners them. He's so friendly though. He gives them his backstory and the entire Sadler family backstory so Agatha doesn't have to. He lets them go to check the graveyard again, and...
Look, we gotta go to the graveyard.
I don't want to.
Guys, come on, just do one more take, I beg you. Unlike the book, they haven't actually seen Louisa and Sam's graves before meeting Harrison, so I guess this is the reveal. The kids willingly reveal the fresh gravestones, which even have cute little photos on them. They tell J&T that he's gonna put their bones there, so we finally get the plan to kill the ghost 3 minutes before the episode is over.
I can't, Jerry. I'm scared.
Throw all these kid actors out, man, I swear. Lightning strikes and Harrison pops out. He gets his dog to bark the kids towards the cave, and damn, you know, this probably would scare the hell out of a kid. Another strike closes off the cave, and...
Jerry, next time you see me sleeping, don't wake me up.
Wow, they really just watched like 3, technically 1 person die, and they don't give a damn. The ending plays out similarly, with the dog revealing the cousin's secret. Instead of shutting the dog out, though, well, how about you see for yourself?
Jerry, why don't you kids go and set the table while Agatha gets busy in the kitchen? Don't say you're not hungry.
So let's start with the positives. I like the extra bit on the twist ending, and I think the skull effect would actually scare a kid. Other than that, wow. The book was like a bit of a mystery novel, though not too hard to figure out. That gave it some intrigue despite nothing else really going on. The episode, though. Let's just say 21 minutes is not enough to get you to understand or even care about what's going on. The lighting is so painfully obvious that it's still daytime, but by God, the acting. The adults were fine, but the kids, my God. Compare this to any other episode, though not Carly Beth because that girl can actually act, and you can really tell that something went wrong here. All of them are stiff, emotionless, and unfortunately, Louisa stands out like a sore thumb because they gave her so many lines. In conclusion, a solid book, a shitty episode. But did the ghost beach make you fear your distant cousins? Or do you now trust every old man that you find in a cave? Pack your bags because in 2 weeks we're taking a trip back to Egypt for Return of the Mummy.